Today it's a nice day. I'm gonna work on my Super W6TA. I'm gonna pull the hood off. Wiring's bad, I've got to rewire it. And if I rewire this tractor, then it will, then I can start with the starter because a bunch of the wiring's unhooked and stuff. I don't know what they did here to the oil filter, but I mean, again, when I change oil, I'm going to take a canister. WD9 one should be the same thing. So W9, WD9, they should be the same thing. So I'll change that. Well, let's get started on the wiring. Another issue this tractor has is I don't think the carburetor is working properly. I don't think the needle's coming down like it should. So I'll take the carb off and give it a good clean the fuel, the starting system, the gasoline on the starting system will clean that. But today, this video, I think we'll do some wiring. See, this tractor was originally equipped with a magneto. One's as a distributor. This has as long of a stud on as this one, and it's and this switch actually cuts the power off to the distributor. With the magneto, there's just one pull on this, and there's just a wire that comes to the magneto, and it just grounds it out. The older ones, and this is a Super, the older 9 just have, and 6s, they have like a spark plug type wire that comes right out of here and goes to the mag. But this is a newer style, like the Super WD9s with magnetos are done the exact same way. So this wiring harness to the back only needs 3 wires. 2 for the generator and 1 for the lights, and that's all it takes on the engine. There's no distributor, there's no wire from here to the dash because it's equipped with a magneto. This wire here, it's number 14. Originally it would have been 12 or 10. So I'm using smaller wire. This is copper instead of aluminum for the armature on wire. These generators are 12 volt and they only put out 13 amp. They have about the same wattage as the 1100 501, but since they're twice the voltage, they have half the amperage, so they're only about 13 amps. So number 14 wire is adequate for it. And then I had a wire that was about the right length, so I'm going to use it. The field on the generator, this is a number 14 or 16 wire, and I also had it. I think this came out of a Champion grader at one time. And I rewired the grader, but I saved the wires. They were all yellow, but they were all good, and so I'm just using them to do tractors now. This one's a little bit long, but I just keep it at the length, and I'll cut it to length when I'm done with the harness, and then I don't waste any wire that way. As you can see, the wire that this tractor's in desperate need of wiring. And the last wire is the purple wire that feeds the headlights. I use the same colors as a 400 would use. These are the last ones to have this kind of harness, and I do these kind of wires, and I use the newer wiring schematics, so that way if you keep everything to color, it's easier to keep track of everything. And I just put it where the harness would be routed, and add about a foot of extra or so to it and snip it off. Now it's time to start taping the wires together and making a harness. So I always tape them first and then I loom them. With 2 wires, especially number 14s, I should be able to put 1 layer of tape on and then put some 1/4-inch loom over them. So I'll build a little short harness with just the generator wires. And I just get a length for it here, where I add the 3rd wire to it, light wire. I get a little more. I want a bit of a loop to keep away from the manifold because the manifold's on this side on the diesels. There we go, a loop like that, then it'll stay away from the fan and the belts and the manifold. And now I'm ready to add my purple wire to it. That'll be for the headlights. There we go. I'll do the rest of the taping maybe off camera. Okay, I got one layer of tape on. I put the harness where it should be, and you see, yeah, the end of the right about, like there's a hole for the wires to pass through on this tractor, and I got right at the end where the starter, where the main power feeder from the starter will join in. So I'll take it out and I'll tape. I think I'll put a second layer of tape on this and then loom over it. Now just put a loom over this section, a smaller one. It should be good. Okay, I got my harness loomed right up to where I got put another wire in for the starter. I put it kind of in place. This will be put different. I've got to pull the gas tank to clean it anyways, so that'll be different. But what I need to know is where I'm going to put this other wire that feeds everything, the main power wire. I need to get that established. Then I'll pull this back and start taping this in. Pull this back and start taping it in. Oops. Now I'll tape this and get this next wire added to the harness. I'm only going to be able to put one layer of tape on this, I think, to make my loom work. Which is fine. I gotta keep everything nice and neat and straight, otherwise the loom won't work. The Super W6s and the Super W6TAs do things different than the rest. Most of them, the big harness just follows up to the regulator, and then all your connections are on this side of the regulator. On these, they turn it the other way. And that's factory, that's how they do them on these. This goes on the fuel tank mount, and you can see the clip is the original clips on it, and it goes on the other side of the steering box to your voltage regulator, and that's how they do it on the Super W6TAs. Why, I have no idea, but that's how it's done. So that's how I'll do it too. Okay, I run my black and green wires. Now these are just the wires that are still decent that I had, so I'm gonna just use them again. I'm gonna just take a pinch and pull them out. Now I'll tape them in to my harness. So I gotta take my blue wire out. First of all, I gotta tape these first. Should have done that before grabbing. Gotta take the blue and the yellow wire out. The first thing. They go out. Black and green go in. The black goes to the black wire. It just is your power, your main generator wire that comes off the regulator. That's what actually hooks to your ammeter, and the yellow, the green wire is the L terminal wire, and then the blue and the yellow go to come from the generator. One's for the blue's for the armature, and the yellow's the field. And then I'll tape this up. Now I got my square I desire. I'll tape this up off camera and do the same with the other side. Now I've got to get my wires all aligned and do the other side of the junction here. These are scarce enough. I don't think you'd even get a wiring harness for one of these through Maple Hunter, or not Maple Hunter, Brillman's. So I built my own wiring harness since I was a teenager, early teenager, not even quite a teenager, so I don't think I'm going to change that right now. Yeah, just keep building my own. I do a pretty good job. They may not be quite as nice as a Brillman harness, but I've done every tractor I rewired, the harness is still there. So unless sellers, the seller tractors, somebody may have got Brillman ones and put them on by now. I don't know, but for our own use, I've never rewired a tractor. I've done. Everything worked good. I've never had trouble with them when I was done, so yeah, keep on doing them. I think I'm going to pull the starting tank. I'm going to do it anyways, but I got it. You see the oil pressure's lines under the clip that the wire goes, and it's going to be hard to get the harness in there, so I'll pull this off. I got to pull it off anyways, and then that should come by, and I'll be able to put my harness in. Okay, I'm going to run my wires for my headlights, and I'll make my headlight harnesses before I hook everything up. There we go. Right there, I'll cut this off, and I'll cut the ground off. This is the right-hand side one. This one's got the big hole in the post. If it had some of them had a smaller hole in these light posts, the older tractors, and they had, this one does too if I got lucky with the last wire. No, I got through. But usually the other ones, with the small hole in the light post, you can't get the wire through that easy, so you gotta pull the post almost always to get them. I get grounds to the brace on these 6s, so this is the ground. It's a pink wire. I have pinkish wire, so I'll use it. Okay, now that I got these 2 wires cut, I'll make the harness for them. Okay, I'm gonna have to, this bulb's buggered up. I'll have to get a new 12-volt bulb when I can. Stuff's out of the States probably all has duty on it now because of the trade war, but if you're not making it in Canada, then charging tariffs are stupid. If you can't make it in Canada or won't, then charging tariffs are really stupid, I think, but that's just me, I guess. But you see, I put the wires, I got the harnesses built, and they're up to the lights on both sides. Now I can hook everything up on the front end. I will do wiring on the back too, to the back light, but right now I'll get everything hooked up to the dash first. Get the whole front end hooked up and see where we land from there. Before I hook the generator up, I'm going to remove it and test it. Set the generator on the tire of my 240. I converted this to 12 volt, but I don't want it on the tractor because the generator is usually 12 volt positive ground on those tractors, so I'll hook it up as positive ground. It wants to go. There we go. So the motor's just Let's see if it'll stop the effect if I ground the field. Yeah. It should slow down or speed up when I grip. Yeah, it slows down just. And then I ground the field, it slows down. This is a good generator, there's nothing wrong with it. So that's how you test these generators, is just by hooking them up. I hook the negative to the terminal on the generator and the positive to the ground, and they'll motor. And sometimes I may have to actually, it's not starting on its own. Sometimes if you ground the field, they'll take off just like that. So this is a good generator. There we go. Okay, on the generators, these studs are number 12. I use 1/4-inch ring terminals because you can't get number 12s, so I just use 1/4-inch. 10s are too tight. I have stripped these about 3/8 to 1/2 inch. And I put my terminal on. Okay, the blue wire is the armature wire, and I hook it to the A terminal on the generator. Like that. Like, I know 14 gauge seems light on the generator, but and that's what I had, and these generators are only 13 amps, so 14 gauge copper wire is plenty adequate for it. Tighten these. When you tighten these, and especially loosen them, you gotta make sure these terminals don't turn the stud, because you break the wire underneath and you have to get repaired. Take it apart and get repaired, so I don't want to break that. Now the yellow wire is your field wire, and it goes to the F terminal on the generator. There we go. Hasn't been hooked up in years, but it's a little rusty. I'll put a tab, just put a little bit of never sees on it so it screws in good. Sometimes that helps a lot. That often helps a lot. There we go. This I taped down a little bit long under here, and wish I had been a little shorter with my taping. It would have been better, but it works. Now front light's just ground on this brace right here on these tractors. Before I hook the main power wire up, I'm gonna build the new battery cable. This battery cable is perfectly good. There's nothing wrong with it. But I want to change the style of post to the screw type post, and yes, that's what kind of battery I can readily get, and they're superior connection, and I could get them for cheap at a truck wrecker. So I'm gonna go a group 31 top post battery like a big truck takes in this tractor. That's the only reason I'm going to keep this cable. I'm not throwing it away. It's a good one. I'll be able to use that on a different tractor at some other point, I'm sure of that. Okay, I stripped this about 3/4 of an inch. all the way around. Yeah, this is just nice size of lug. I don't know what size of wire this is. It looks like about number 1. Yeah, I think it's a number 1 AWG. Which is what it had, so it won't hurt it. Solder. I'd rather spill some than have it sit have not enough in. So this is solidified and welded, so I'll have to do the same with the other side. There we go. I don't mind overfilling them a bit with solder, but I do mind them being a little low though. Let it cool off good so it stays in and welds in. I think it's there. There we go. Ooh, I got a little solder in, so I'll have to clean it up. Okay, this wire is about the right length. I'm gonna put 3/16 loom over it, and that's your main feeder for the start for the whole tractor. Actually, it goes off your starter. So slide her on, slide the loom on. I may have to do this off camera. There, I got a place where it might sit. There we go. I got just the right amount of loom left over that I could put a terminal on. Okay, I think it'll go around, so I'll point this like this. It's a 3/8 terminal. I'll squeeze her on, and I'll hook it up onto the starter terminal. There we go. We want it tight, but we don't want to strip this any more than it already is. And this cable should work just fine. Might have even made it a tad long, but it's better than too short. As for the regulator, I'm going to use the old one, although this rubber's bad, but they generally work better than the new regulators do. But sometimes these 12-volt regulators have the gen terminal underneath instead to the side. This one's underneath. 6 volts, I've never seen one like that, but I'm going to have a nut cut the wire long enough to make it around here in case I have to put a new regulator on it or a different one, so I'll do just that. Okay, I'm going to take this around like this, and I'll cut this off here. I guess it's a real dumb thing, I know, but that's how they're done on these tractors. Cut right there. I'll add some loom to it. And then I'll take the regulator off and put it on. Okay, I put a piece of loom over my armature wire. And I got the right length to go to the other side if need be. I'll put a terminal on it and I'll hook up my regulator. But you see, here's where my gen terminal is on this one. It's not like a regular regulator, and most of the 12 volt ones are like the 6 volts, but this one's one of these that are different. I haven't seen a 6 volt that is set up like this, but it doesn't mean it's not possible. But the few 12 volts are like this, and so you gotta keep in mind when you're wiring, you could get the terminal on the other side if you replace the regulator, and you probably will, so just keep that in mind. Just tried to think about which way would be the best way of putting this. Yeah, I think I'll put it like that. I'll run it around the other side anyways. There we go. Now I gotta put the regulator back on, and then I'll hook up the rest. Okay, to hook it up, I've got to start out with the F terminal, which is at the back because the regulator is backwards from what they usually are, but that's how they're done on these tractors, and I don't know why, but they did it that way. And only the Stage 2 Super 6 and the TA ones are done this way with the other harness on the other side, but that's how they did it, so that's how I'll continue to do it. I sometimes have absolutely no clue what the engineers are thinking when they come up with some of these ideas, but that's just me. Next one is the bat terminal, or which feeds your regulator. The black one, which always goes in the center of the regulator. I'm gonna get a holder for the wiring harnesses. A Stage 2 Super 1 should be the same. Stage 2 Super W6, and got a couple wrecked here, so I'll get one on. Okay, and the last one's the L terminal, which is the green wire, and that also goes to the dash. Okay, there's the main harness is hooked up to the regulator. Last is the dash. Before I hook up the dash wires, I think I've got to build the backlight wire first. Okay, I routed the wire here for the backlight. Put where in the approximate location it goes. I'm going to cut it off, and then I'll add the ground to it, and then I'm going to try and use the original loom. I don't think this is original loom. Somebody put this conduit on, but I'm going to use it. They had something like this originally, and I like to use it if I can. I do have a couple breaks in the loom. I had to dig it out, but it still will work. It's still functional. This will be underneath a platform where no one will see it anyways, so I'll string wire and then I'll tape it. This should be a lot easier than it has been in theory. There, this is through the whole way. Now I gotta try and add my white wire to it, which isn't gonna be a lot of fun, but it's doable, I think. I'll get her. It's not gonna be fun, but I'll get her. There, it started in. It's good enough. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tape this end right up. Need to still get my white in further. Actually, my black brown out farther is better. Yeah, I got room for that, so I'll pull the brown a little bit to get level with the white or pretty close. Then I'll tape this up, because I don't think I'll get it if I don't do it this way. I don't think I'll get it. I'll start taping this here. I could put one layer of tape on, I think, safely and still get through. That's what the hope is. Then that way it offers some protection inside the loom too. I'm actually taping in the wrong direction. I should be starting on this end so the laps are correct. Otherwise it'll lap the wrong way and I'll have trouble, so I'll do it. Take this off and tape it the other way. I gotta do some of this off camera, of course. Okay, I put the backlight wire in place now. I gotta finish the harness. I taped it up to where it's gotta be, and now I'm gonna put some fiber loom on it now that the conduit is run out. So that's what I'll do. Now I gotta pull the dash. There we go. Well, obviously my ammeter's bad. Fuse holder's missing the cap, and this is buggered, and I'll replace that. And I'm gonna save the junction block off of here. I could use that on another, and I just plug in now with these new style fuse holders, so I'll do that. Another thing to note, you see that screw with right here with the junction on the back? That's unique to tractors and magneto. Most of the supers don't have that. Because they have the ignition switch here and they just junction to that, so they don't have this screw. So they obviously have magneto at right from day one. Okay, I got my dash stripped down now. I actually had to break the old fuser holder again out. I guarantee it was the Bakelite was so brittle after all these years of plastic or whatever they're made out of. Okay, I put the backlight wire in and I got run to the dash now, and I loomed it and I hooked up the ground. So now all I gotta do is hook up the dash, and the other end the lights too. But right now I'll hook on the dash so it'll run. Okay, I'm gonna hook up my black and red wire. Those go to the ammeter. And I'm not sure on this ammeter which side they go, so you just hook them up. And the worst they'll do is show backwards. The worst they'll do is move backwards. So if I'm wrong, I just rehook them and they'll be fine. I just put the red one to the left and the black one to the right, and if I mess backwards, I'll cross the wires later. Put a plug-in terminal on this one. Light switch is hooked up. It's hooked so it got wired so it should start and run and charge already, but finish hooking the light switch up is only 2 wires, and then this end is my wiring for now is done. Backlight's either hooked to the number 2 terminal, which is right here, or they could hook up to this one. Those two are hooked together, so it doesn't matter. It's okay if these two touch because they're interconnected anyways, but this one and this one shouldn't touch. And then the last one is the backlight wire, and I got the wrong size terminal for that. Or the front light wire, the headlight wire, and I got the wrong terminal for that. This one I gotta be very careful about touching, because if this one touches the other, then the lights will stay on, so because that's your power feeding it. You can screw this on like this and it shouldn't hurt anything. There we go. Now let's fire her up and see what it does. I gotta bleed this one element, which is with the final filter, but I gotta start on gas to do that. So it's the first time I've ever tried to start this with the starter. Not a lot of life in this battery, is there? I'll grab the hand crank. See what it does with the hand crank. Gas to it, I don't know. Had too much choke. You have to have just a little bit. It's gonna go. Well, I hope this video has earned your subscription. God bless you all. Catch you at the next one.